Good afternoon. I know it's getting late in the day, so we appreciate you coming here both live and online at Virtual Edge Summit. My name is Michelle Bruno. I'll be following the Twitter feed for this session. But also, if anyone here in our live audience has questions, hang on to them. We'll have a Q&A session at the very end of the session, so you'll be able to ask whatever you like. I want to welcome Evan Chapman, who is President Virtual Solutions for Viva Creative. He's going to talk to us today about engaging C-level executives. Thank you so much.
Thank you for the introduction, and good afternoon, everyone. And of course, being the end of a busy day and the last session before the cocktail party, I'm sure everyone is highly focused on the business topics at hand. But we do have some interesting things to share with you, and some experiences just based on some real-time things that we've done. And also, as you'll see and hear shortly, we've engaged the help of some actual C-level executives. So we won't tell you, we'll let them tell you some of the things that we've discussed with them. So let's talk a little bit about, first of all, what's often referred to as the C-suite. Clearly, there was a chief executive officer position which was created some time ago through corporate requirements, quickly followed by a chief financial officer, and right on down the line of the types of titles that you see on the screen. You have the chief marketing officer, for example, chief information officer, chief strategy officer, chief technology officer, chief security officer, chief services officer, chief operations, chief administration, chief creative, and chief architect, knowledge, and chief innovation. Well, clearly people have taken some licenses with it, but basically what is it all referred to? It's referred to as a CXO. Typically, when you're defining in general, a very high-level senior executive, and the big key probably is the O, because these people are typically officers within the corporate structure of a company or organization. So that immediately makes them fairly strategic people to be involved with. Now, the last line that you see are actual titles. In fact, there was a there was an interesting article the other day with regard to interesting titles, and there's a chief happiness officer, and chief euphoria officer is an actual title at Ben and Jerry's ice cream. I'll leave that one at that. Why do we care about the C-suite? Why do we care as marketers? Why do we care as event people? Why do we care as people interested in the events industry, the virtual events industry? Basically, they are the key to a business relationship being strategic, because they represent the strategy of an organization. So, for example, they would be someone with whom you have a relationship, and by virtue of the fact that you're working with them, you are a strategic partner, more likely than a, quote, vendor. They're also people that are, in many ways responsible for vision or mission of an organization and the key initiatives. By working with these key executives, you're helping them with their initiatives. You're part of their mission and vision versus selling them products and being involved on projects. Also, there's, in many cases, actually a structure that is based on shared risk and shared reward. There's some great examples. Some large consultancy firms, for example, some years ago figured out that they could put some skin in the game and actually have stock options included as part of their consulting arrangements. If they were successful, they would earn stock options, and if the stock options grew, they took a lot of additional reward out of having helped a company position itself in a way that that made its stock go up. Many examples of that. But you're much more integrated and much more involved with an organization when you're dealing at a strategic level. Seems like common sense, but that's, instead of being someone that's involved in processing orders and maybe even, the bad C word, commodities, right? So that's why we care. The characteristics of the C-suite, this is admittedly simplified, but I call it the 3 C's. These are people that are cautious. They're cautious with good reason as officers of the company. They may be tied pretty importantly to a number of legal commitments. They are also cautious because everybody wants to have a relationship with them. They're also cautious because they are responsible to typically, a board and shareholders or very, very important clients to the exponential level if something goes wrong, and they're sort of in the middle of that. So they're rightfully cautious. Sometimes they're counterintuitive. For example, in the IT space, it's always interesting that sometimes the CIO is not, in fact, somebody who would be found in a virtual event or even online or in sort of social media areas necessarily. There's a earlier sort of, in the days of PCs, sort of the last person to get the PC at the company or a laptop was the CEO, and then they didn't know how to use it. And that was at a technology company. So interesting. Sometimes there's some counterintuitive things that happen, but that's not what they're always there for, right? They're committed and often overcommitted in terms of their time, and it's important to know that their time is precious and they have to make constant decisions. If you think of the chief executive of this country, the president, think of how many requests for time have to be evaluated and then prioritized and reprioritized when something happens. Today being a good example because he's in Tucson. We had a call with the GSA the other day, and it happened to be at the time when the president had asked for a moment of silence around Tucson, and we actually did that on the call, which was pretty powerful. I digress, but point being, these people have important agendas. So what are they interested in? They're interested in things that will help their strategy, help their mission, help their sort of company, shareholders, stakeholders, government. Sort of depends on the organization, doesn't it? But they're also, if you're going to go to them with a proposal to, whether it's to attend some sort of an event or to sponsor or invest in a company producing a virtual event or any kind of event, any kind of expense initiative, the first question, the expectation, will be what are the results and can you prove it? And I'm not the first person to talk about that sort of thing. There's a lot of people that will tell you about selling to the C-suite or justifying projects. But these are all leading up to something that I think is very, very important when you consider how you would engage senior level executives in virtual events. And one of the first questions you might want to ask is, what sorts of events would they commit their time to go to? And rather than us sort of telling you about that, we thought we'd have you listen in to some people that we recently interviewed that are in various current and former roles at some of the types of organizations that you see. In addition, there are some experts which you will recognize from some of the other sessions, whether you've heard from them today or tomorrow, with sort of an angle on this same conversation. And so let's listen to what they have to say.
We're living in an age of incredible exponential growth, of biotech, of computer network systems, of nanotechnology, of AI and robotics. These growing technologies are empowering individuals to do things that only nations could do before.
I have, one company that's gone from producing about 150 virtual events a year to over 600. We see the technology being used in every industry out there right now.
It's important to try to leverage your content to as many different audiences and as many different formats as possible.
To have perhaps the technologists that really were the visionaries and have them actually talk about their vision for the future.
Put those speakers in some kind of an environment where people can not hear them talk about what they want to talk about, but ask them what they want to know.
And I will make sure that all this content is available in a way that is attractive to the members or to the attendees, but in a way also that they can reuse these assets that have been built for them.
They also want practical, take-home, implementable things that they can tuck in their bag and use when they get back to the office.
To go out and look at the leaders in the industry, figure out what they're doing, how they're doing it, why that's differentiated them from the other companies and their competitors that are out there, and how I could put that to use in my company.
So here's some basic rules of engagement that apply, I think, in general toward dealing with senior level executives. Bad idea to try to sell them something. They can see it coming. Don't sell at me, right? Maybe don't even talk to me directly, especially if you haven't done some homework. If you don't know my business and what my business's challenges are, or about me and my role in the organization, come back after you've done your homework. Here's a big important point when it comes to events and senior level people. They will listen to their peers. They will listen to recognized experts. There has to be some validity there, and they will listen. And I'm making blanket statements here in generalities, but certainly in my experience, there's a lot of respect for other people that have accomplished, whether it's certain achievements in the area in which they operate, whether it's business or a government sort of scenario, or all of the other variables. And they also, if they're people that have done their homework in an area that's important to a strategic initiative, they're going to pay attention because they put a high value on valid information. I may have an 18-month shelf life, especially with certain roles. I'm often in demand. I'm always moving. Sometimes CEOs are brought into a company specifically to maybe position it for sale. Sometimes a chief marketing officer might come into a company with a very specific rollout of a particular product, or maybe a chief operating officer might be brought in specifically to manage an acquisition and merger. Lots of variables, but be aware that it is often true that the people that are at a company in a very senior role will be at another company probably also in a very senior role. Why that's important when you think about events is that networking is very, very high on the list. The ability to interact with peers is high on the list. I'm still a human being. Content is still king, and especially if it will help me. Here's some additional perspective on this when you think about virtual events. We specifically asked for people to give us some perspective about virtual events, and some of the same people that you just heard from and a couple of new faces are in this piece.
There's an old saying in live events that content is king. Today we find that maybe context is king. Your virtual event will allow you to reach audiences that were not committed to attending your physical event, but now they might.
Virtual environments where you can have not only an event but a perpetual 365-day-a-year learning and training environment are really popular, and we see a lot of that growth now.
It's really creating a place where the community can come together with experts and have this really exciting, dynamic conversation.
So you need to start with valuable content. You need to deliver in a way that people are going to engage with it. And then there's also the networking aspect of it.
We have to make sure that people can learn in this space. That's why we do. We have to make sure that people can connect in this space and engage in this space. You know, that's another reason why we're doing it. We have to make sure that selling and buying can happen in this space from an exhibitor's or show floor perspective.
Well, some of the things that you really should look at doing, first of all, is planning what your objectives are for the event.
Whereas in this virtual environment, you kind of got to move around a little bit. You know, if you want to get to the next thing, you got to get to the next thing, and it has to be an active thing that you do. It's this engaging, experiential kind of thing that's different than something that's being broadcast at me, if you will.
It's important to provide a journey for them to come back to you with their questions, even if they've missed the live event. That's where virtual environments can be really handy.
Consider what the audience is going to use to both receive messages and receive content. And it's nowhere near like it used to be anymore.
Whenever we can, we engage virtual audiences in a live or semi-live manner so that we are getting their feedback, their questions, and answering them real time, getting some reward for the effort that they're putting in.
So, as a case study of the event that we produced, and actually we had some remarkably good results, which I'll take you through in a moment. We're going to talk a little bit, and I'm going to give you a tour of our virtual marketing forum called Smart CMO. And this was a forum for really for senior level marketing executives, particularly chief marketing officers. Doing a marketing event for CMOs is like cooking for chefs or planning a meeting for meeting planners. The standards are high, and the expectations are high, and you should try to get it right. We had over 1,000 registered to the Smart CMO event. It was held in October, and 30% attendance, which for this type of event we thought was pretty good. We were really pleased with that. The total visit time per attendee was about 3.5 hours, with an average visit per login of about 2.5. 2 hours seems to be the sweet spot from what I'm hearing from many different sessions. But the fact that they came back, and there are a lot of other statistics, as you all know, some of the beauty of these tools is the statistics that you can get. So, but we were really impressed with the results we got, just purely empirical results. But the big thing that was really telling about this environment was that 20% were at a CMO or senior marketing executive level at Fortune 500 companies. These were well-recognized names within well-recognized organizations. They had a very broad spectrum of representation: financial services, IT, telecom, manufacturing, retail. There was a strong contingent representation of federal, state, local government, non-government organizations, military. I didn't know that the U.S. Marine Corps actually has a marketing officer. And that's a different kind of officer than an officer at a publicly held company. But nonetheless, very broad representation, and of course with associations, not-for-profits, and education. So we were really thrilled. I mean, we just, when we saw the titles coming in and the companies that they were from, I have to say we were very pleased that there was that much of an interest in this. We thought there was, and it really validated a lot. In terms of marketing the event, we used a rich HTML email format, and we tried to use a newsletter layout, and we tried to focus on the presenters, you know, the content presenters, and we had some really compelling people that people in this audience would want to hear from. And you'll notice that this is an event that we, put forth as a marketing forum, a place for chief marketing officers. This was never put forth as, come learn about virtual events, or come learn about Viva Creative, or we actually partnered up with an agency, J Agency, out of New York, which is a marketing strategy agency. We never positioned it ever like that. And it wasn't to trick anybody. It was to, just sort of walk the walk and show them through this event what we felt, from our perspectives, a good example would be. And it proved that, you know, we got the kinds of responses we were looking for. And by the way, this is a simulive of a simulive event. I'm actually showing you screen captures embedded in slides. So it has the sort of second generation or second level simulive, but you just saw the microsite page. And the microsite page was, you know, basically, first of all, we were thrilled that smartcmo.com was an available domain. Sometimes you luck out when you look something up, and so no one had grabbed that yet when we sort of crafted this, and we grabbed it right away, and that became the microsite. The microsite was done in pure HTML. So
hi, I'm Emily Green. Welcome to the Smart CMO Virtual Forum. You are part of a global community of marketing leaders who are online today to learn about smart marketing in action. Please take just a moment to complete your profile by clicking on the profile button in the top navigation. If your profile is already complete, you are ready to start exploring this site and networking with your peers. Remember, the chat feature is always available by clicking the expandable chat icon on the upper left corner of your screen. If you need technical assistance or have any questions, please click on the help desk in the top navigation. This community is about smart marketing in action. We encourage interactivity, discussion, and insight through our Smart Thinking keynotes, smart topic discussions, and smart insights from your peers. Our interactive keynote will begin at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, but your VIP experience begins now. Click on the chat link to join an exclusive live chat with digital marketing pioneer Ted Leonsis. This is a great way to engage, connect, and get started here at the Smart CMO Virtual Forum. We'll meet you right back here after the chat.
The use of ambassadors in virtual environments, we almost always advocate. This was a group where some people would have very high familiarity with these environments, and some had none whatsoever. So having a human there, a docent or a you know, welcome ambassador to help highlight what's there for them, particularly around content, was effective. And in fact, the main keynote, Ted Leonsis, was the most highly attended session. I'm going to take you through a little bit of what we did with Ted.
Hi, this is Ted Leonsis. It's really cool to be here in this very intimate, interactive setting, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about my views of the new media and the new consumer, and what the new consumer is all about.
This was the beginning to his keynote. We won't go through his whole keynote. At the end of his keynote,
I wanted you to get a tour of my office. I'm going to leave in a minute and let you cruise around and see what it's all about. Enjoy the rest of the tour. Thank you for your time.
At this point, what we did is we took people to another level with a completely immersive virtual environment. And in Ted's office, you can see there were hotspots. People could self-explore. Some of these included, you know, sort of Easter eggs, just for fun. You could click around and find things like these. This is one of the things that he talked about in his presentation, his top 10 list. But it was a voyage of self-exploration. So there was a very immersive place where everything in this space, you know, had something to do with his various ventures, many of which he had talked about during the session, and also was engaging. There's more. This is the most popular one.
Hi Ted, it's Obi. I need 10 tickets for tonight's game for Wizards. Can you help me for that? Thanks. Give me a call back.
Hey Ted, it's John Erskine. I've sent you a bunch of Facebook friend requests, but I'm still not getting your updates. Is there a problem with your account? Call me.
Hey Ted, this is Carl Alsner. I heard through the grapevine that you used a private plane to fly to one of our playoff games in Hershey. You know, that would have come in awfully handy for me the last couple of years.
Ted, it's David Steckel. I just got a great idea for a double bottom line business investment. You'll thank me later. It's eBay meets Hoarders meets eHarmony, but it's got a heart of gold. Text me back.
So it's okay to have fun with these high-level executives because they're people too, and they respond well. And they responded really well to this. This was our approach to sort of a briefing center and again, sort of self-explanatory.
We will take our biggest event, which is like 27,000 people that show up for 3 days, and we're going to put that also in a virtual parallel.
And so as you drill down into different layers, you could, hear from other CMOs and senior marketing people about their approaches to virtual events, as well as how to pick an agency, as you can see, and a number of other topics. And then the interactivity came in. This gentleman, Saurabh, we were so honored that he joined our initiative with this project and participated, and actually, this is a gentleman who is probably doing more virtual events than the aggregation of people in the next 5 rooms, just because he's doing them for Cisco. Is he in here? He threatened he would come in, but anyway, he was the chat master, and as you can see, he had a lot of interactivity with people. And again, while he's not a chief marketing officer, he is absolutely a renowned expert on virtual events and in practice doing them. So people had a lot of interesting questions for him, and again, highly rated, highly engaging, highly engaged people to get that knowledge. And that's just an important concept, no matter what this sort of subject layer is. SmartCMO.com is available today. Just wanted to let you know you can go there, you can register for free and access the actual environment. We will be announcing soon that we're having the next SmartCMO event day, and we're also doing content refreshes, and we're also turning on some additional sort of networking, social networking features within the environment. So it's meant to be an ongoing, living place for the practice of marketing. And so please, I encourage all of you to go check it out. And at this point, would like to open it up to questions and answers if you have any.
On Twitter. Regarding the Smart CMO event and 20% of the attendees being C-level, how did you qualify or verify the titles as being accurate?
Well, sure. In some cases, we were able to do that against certain lists that we had marketed to. In some cases, we you have a pretty well-known company name, and so clearly it's somebody who's putting in that they're a particular title at a particular organization, and I suppose if someone had made that up for some reason, I mean, it wasn't a fee-based event, so I don't see any motivation for someone to do that. So we felt it was pretty accurate. So
regarding which C-level executive to actually approach, within which whose purview would a virtual event be? Because chances are you're not going to get to pitch inside the boardroom to everybody. So if you've only got one shot, are you going to the CMO, or is it better to get to the CEO? Who are you going after?
Well, again, it depends on what your sort of initiative is, and if your initiative is to hold a virtual event and to have the sort of buy-in and executive sponsorship within your organization, you have to be prepared, as you would with anything that's going to be, something resources are going to be put towards. You have to be prepared for, an executive brief and a summary and almost a pro forma of any financials involved with it. And those are just sort of the bare minimum table stakes. As far as who you would go to, a lot depends on your company. Not every company or organization is the same, and so you obviously have to map that. But typically in a corporate environment, you'd have whoever is in charge of marketing. You'd probably want to start with that office, if you will, because if you're doing something that's as outbound as an event, a virtual event, a hybrid event, typically they're going to be very involved with it, and there's branding, there's communications, and there's certainly an opportunity for lead generation, audience acquisition, awareness, all kinds of other wonderful things. So, that would be a typical place to start. If it's a more financial sort of undertaking, then clearly the office of the CFO, the CEO at some level has to get involved, particularly if you're going to call on those people to be participants and contributing perhaps to content. So the answer is it depends, but all of the sort of same business rules I think follow that have been in place for forever around major initiatives within organizations.
Are virtual events a hard sell right now? You sort of mentioned that the CEO sometimes is a bit of a Luddite in some organizations. I mean, are you starting from scratch in sort of explaining to him or her what the platform is, and do they immediately grasp the value? I guess it's up to you as a, not you, but the salesperson, but
it can be. I mean, it's again, it comes back to can you help the business objectives? We always start with business objectives and what are you trying to achieve, right? So why are you having this virtual event? Put yourself on the sort of the other side of the desk and play devil's advocate. Try to poke holes in your premises. Why is the first question you want to address. What are the results that you're expecting, and to what degree can you prove it? You don't want to do these things because they're neat to do. You want to do these things because they achieve something, and so if you base your premises on that, then it's a matter of getting ambassadors, fans, and champions within your organization to sort of get on board with it, and you can socialize an idea with those people and pre-validate. Honestly, sometimes it just depends on the individuals involved and sort of the political climate within an organization, but these aren't new business rules, right?
So what are their objections usually, other than I'm very busy and I hope you know what you're talking about and don't bother me? But what are they actually coming back to you with in terms of why they wouldn't want to do it? Is it always a cost thing? What's driving their objections?
I don't know that there's a single answer to that. I think that again, they're cautious and reserved about committing resources to anything that they don't clearly see having clear, sort of very, very stated results. One approach to think about is, rather than just looking at ROI and a purely financial sort of equation and empirical data, think about combining that with objectives, with return on objectives, by stating objectives, especially if you have multiple stakeholders. You can broaden the base of justification for a project if you can show that it will have a positive impact in more than one way for more than one set of stakeholders. So think of it as a matrix where you identify stakeholders perhaps within different organizations, within different lines of business, within a company, different departments within an agency, and then talk to those people in advance and sort of understand what they might want to see potentially as sets of objectives, and try to have a set of objectives that are more empirical, number of leads, number of contacts made, number of V-cards exchanged, things you can count. And then on the other side, you can have anecdotal. And as long as you're combining those, you can set up a pretty good business case for, the first one's always the toughest, but for a set of metrics that you're going to track.
Okay, Paul, I'm going to put you on the spot. Tell me, within your organization, and you can say who it is or what organization you're with or not, has it been a hard sell to introduce virtual events into your mix, or are you not doing virtual events, or how's it been for you?
When you say a hard sell, a hard sell to whom? To our C-level? I don't think our C-level care one way or the other. It's up to marketing as to whether we're going to do virtual events or not. And as Evan is saying, if those virtual events and or hybrid events and or microsites or whatever they may be, if they're meeting our business objectives of continuing to create interactions with customers, to drive them into the sales pipeline, to eventually generate revenue for the company, then no, it's not a hard sell to the C-level suite, because that's what they're looking at. If we're delivering results against the business objectives of the company, the C-level suite doesn't really care one way or the other what marketing tactics we're actually using. So it's really a sell into our campaigns people, our event marketing people, and our CMO in terms of, are we going to use these as channels of communication and channels of engagement with our, with our customers and the people that we're targeting for, marketing campaigns and sales campaigns. So it's not really a question of whether we're trying to sell the concept or, the cost or anything else for virtual events or digital. That's really a marketing decision.
Might be tougher to sell it to the CMO. Great.
So Evan, do you think then it's appropriate to sell what Paul is saying is a marketing tactic to even bother the C-level with something like that? Or is he talking about a large organization versus maybe a smaller organization where the C-level might care?
Oh, again, it's like any initiative, right? If you're going to ask for time, investment, attention, you have to have some justification, and really you shouldn't be doing it. You shouldn't be doing it if there just to your point is you shouldn't be doing it really if there isn't an outcome.
I think the question I have, the questions that you're asking, Michelle, are a little bit along a different line than I think this session maybe was even about. I mean, it's not a question so much of, am I going to sell to a C-level executive, doing a virtual event? I think the questions that I might have is the C-level suite has been traditionally the hardest audience to get to any kind of event, whether it be a physical event or a virtual event. It's hard enough getting them to a physical event, much less a virtual event. So I'm curious, with what you're doing, how you're potentially marketing differently and creating content differently to actually get a C-level person to attend a virtual event.
That's a very good question, and we put a tremendous amount of focus. Like I said, it's like cooking dinner for a group of chefs. We put a lot of focus on how to leverage social media, but we did it in a pretty thoughtful manner, meaning that we really tried to use the concept of fans and ambassadors. So we networked a lot with other CMOs, and we asked their opinions. We helped let them help form the event. We got them engaged early on. In fact, we had some linkage in the beginning to some recognition that was done for CMOs, and we used that as a springboard to expand and make this beginnings of a community for them, and found that they were open to it, found that they were interested in it, and actually willing to tell their peers. And so there was some level of buzz and some level of viral marketing that occurred, and we were fortunate in the levels of people we were able to be involved with at that outset. And you can translate that, I think, into different sorts of audiences, other than, say, marketing audiences. Financial people will listen to other financial people. At the end of the day, there's a desire to learn about best practice. Many problems, probably most problems that face a business or an organization, in some way, shape, or form, have been solved before, or partly solved. There's best practice. There's history, and so hearing from other people how something was implemented, or how something was, some challenge was overcome, or how something got done, is highly of value to this audience. And so we really started with that, got some, as I say, fans and ambassadors, cheerleaders, if you will, and then we also used the conventional marketing approaches, using targeted marketing with messages towards, a variety of databases, and we spread a pretty big net with that, and we went frequently, and the premise wasn't like many of the emails that you get in your inbox. It was just sort of different, and I think that difference was a stance that was, sort of, come and hear from your peers. The only thing you have to invest is your time, and that's what we found, I think, to be effective, particularly for this audience. I can't speak to, if it was for COOs, how you might get them involved in something, but there's probably a high likelihood they'd pay more attention if people they recognize in the community of, operations officers and recognize peers that they are aware of, or industry experts. There's probably a higher probability they'd come to that.
Yeah, I would think that CMOs would probably be the natural place to start if you're looking at C-level engagement, because they're probably more likely to, at least be interested in this because it is a marketing tool.
Exactly.
In your marketing, and I'm assuming that you've only done CMO level virtual events at this point, or have you done other C-level?
For Viva, this was. It had a lot of different, objectives and different stakeholders, using my earlier example. But clearly, as an experiential communications agency, we had a vested interest in putting something up that was attractive to marketing officers.
Right.
We have worked with a variety of both virtual and physical events with different other sorts of C-level, CIOs in particular, because we've done a lot of work in the IT space.
Yeah, CIOs seem to me the next target audience that probably would be interested in attending. I have a hard time imagining that CEOs, CFOs, even COOs are really that interested in attending virtual events at this point, primarily because they don't even really attend, physical events to a great degree unless they're really attending on a level, CEO to CEO kind of thing.
Well, and you just answered the question, though. If you provide a forum for them to, for example, if you use the model of, very strategic events that engage leaders, both at a government, NGO, and corporate level. The World Economic Forum series, the New York Forum that was kicked off this year, and there are other examples where they will spend time to learn what their peers have to say, and especially if you allow them to work on problems and solve problems together, it becomes fascinating what some of the outcomes can be. And can that be done in a virtual space? I think it's starting to become clear that it could be. And there's also a lot to be said for hybridization as an approach to that, because you can get people in a think tank and then bring other people in who just simply cannot be there from schedule standpoints.
Right. I hope you're right, because we sell into the C-suite quite a lot, so it would be very useful if we could actually figure out ways to engage those guys in avenues other than purely physical relationships.
Yeah, I agree with you, and I think the potential is there, and again, it's about a strategic level. So if you can accomplish something that is truly at a strategic level and truly, big ideas, big results, if you can get that, whether it's a hybrid, a virtual, whether, whatever the initiative is, you're doing something that's important, and you're doing something that is highly relevant to that audience, because that's why they have the jobs that they do. So, is it a tough sell? Not if you can show them that, like I said, not if you can sort of prove it in advance, and I don't mean, promise it, I mean, really prove it. So hopefully that helps. In the back, we have a question.
It's kind of a question and suggestion. I was also thinking about how to attract senior executives to virtual conferences. For me right now, is like inviting them to speak. I mean, if you invite someone, CEO, to speak at your conference regarding some complicated topic, as you said, about trends or something like that, and create like VIP lounge or something for executives, other executives will come. And another thing is that they value their time. We got to understand we cannot make them sit at the computer all the time. They have meetings and stuff. But after the lecture, during the lecture, before probably, we could list in the agenda that this person will be available for a couple of hours and they can reserve a meeting with them. I mean, if it's a meeting, if it's a business meeting, and if a CEO can get an alert or SMS to his phone that this person wants to meet him on this very topic, and technology can do that, right? And if he accepts or declines it, it engages the person who is very busy to do this thing, but he can get on his computer for 1 hour and contribute to a virtual conference.
That's right. It is, it's leveraging the flexibility of the technology, and there's no travel time, and so your odds are actually greater that you might get some attendance from people that you never had any chance of engaging in a physical event just because of schedules. So it's a good point. That's right.
He's saying bragging to his peers about what he's doing and things.
I'm just curious whether you have experience with this in terms of actually seeing people do this, because I got to tell you, every CEO I've ever met, if they want to talk to somebody about something, they're going to pick up the phone and call them. They're not going to get online and talk to them virtually for an hour. And what size company do you work for? It's B2C? HBC? Okay.
Yeah, some people do multitasking, Men can do that too, and no, but they say that women are good at that, but men are good at that too. That's totally true. And you can call a person, or you can just exchange some documents, It's like, I have a proposition for you, just check it out if you're interested, and then they can call each other. And by the way, the virtual conferencing software also allows the anonymous calls. So if I am not sure I can talk to a person, or just transfer him to a manager who can work with that. But it gives the opportunity other people to reach to the very, very top, if you want to.
So in conclusion, thank you, Evan, very much
it's my
for
pleasure.
your discussion. If anybody has any ideas, more ideas on how to attract C-level attendees, please let @Paul Salinger know on Twitter. And he'll be very happy and probably reward you with some, you know, really cool premium, or just be your friend forever. Thank you so much, and happy hour's starting at the Hard Rock Cafe, so we'll see you tomorrow. Thanks.